What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Backtrack Cinema. My name is Jason, and in this review, we'll be looking at the 2004 film, The Punisher. So pop some popcorn, get comfy, get a drink, and let's talk The Punisher. The Punisher was released in 2004, directed by Jonathan Hensleigh, and starring Thomas Jane and John Travolta. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Backtrack Cinema, and in this review, we'll be looking at The Punisher from 2004, one of those films that is in the early stages of creating those Marvel movies back in the day. I was in my early 20s when this came out, so, you know, they had big success with the Spider-Man movie. They did Spider-Man 2. They did a Hulk movie back then. X-Men movies were starting to be made, so they got this ball rolling that eventually became the MCEU. They wanted to do more lower budget Marvel movies, and in walks the Punisher. They decided, okay, let's readapt the Punisher from the comics, and the Punisher has always been one of my favorite. Well, he's an anti-hero, I guess, so we can't say superhero. One of my favorite anti-heroes, one of my favorite Marvel characters. I love the Punisher, and if you guys have watched the channel, got to know me, it's not a surprise. You know, growing up with Rambo and all these action stars at the 80s, of course I'm gonna love the Punisher. Of course he's gonna be one of my favorites, man. And looking at the landscape of Marvel now, I think Marvel, I'm Marveled out. I'm MCEU'd out, to be honest with you. I think the tone has shifted a lot. I think they're making parodies of a lot of these characters that I'm not really into. I think they should have, when they killed Iron Man, they should have left it at that and let it breathe for a bit. And looking back, this movie actually holds up quite well for me as an action film and even as a Punisher film. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about, guys. But before we get the ball rolling here, let me know in the comments what you think of The Punisher from 2004. Let's have a great discussion about this character, about this movie. Let me know your favorite portrayal of the Punisher and your favorite movie. So an undercover FBI agent becomes a vigilante and sets out to unleash his wrath upon the corrupt businessmen who slaughtered his entire family at a reunion. Now, I actually really like the tone of this film, guys. I like the dark tone it goes for, the comic book tone. It has some of that, you know, that cheesy kind of humor throughout it, but it shifts around through all these tones really well, which is, it's hard. That's hard to do, actually, I find, in this day and age. But it also blends the comic book style and the humor, too, along with it, with those dark tones, and shifts it around really nicely, I find. Now, I know this is based on a comic book. I remember reading this version of the Punisher comic book in my early 20s when this came out, because I was excited about the movie, so it's very vague. I think they adapt the comic book quite well, to be honest with you, from what I remember. What this Punisher movie does that I really, really enjoy too is showing the whole backstory, showing his family get killed. And when I mean his family gets killed, his family gets slaughtered, man, at a reunion. Like his wife, his son, his whole freaking family just gets annihilated. It is probably the best set piece in the whole movie. There's a lot of nice action set pieces in here, but this is probably the tone, that dark tone, I like the most. It's an amazing set piece when they come after Frank's family in Puerto Rico or something like that. I mean, not only they kill his wife and son, they kill his father, his mother, his cousins, everyone at this thing. And you get a bit of everything here. And this is what makes this set piece so good. You get a good chase scene. You get the hand-to-hand kind of fighting with the Punisher. You get explosions. You get a bit of everything you love to go to action films for. At least I do, anyway. And I love it. And I love the emotion it goes for. It nails it. It really nails it really well. When he's chasing them down and then he sees his son and his wife that's lying there, he knows they're dead. He kind of looks away. He runs up to them and he's just crying and cradling them. This makes you feel so bad for this guy. And then when he sees the bad guys, you know, ready to run him down, he embraces them, puts them down gently. All he has is his fucking anger and his shotgun. He just goes after them. Frank gets all shot up, beat to a pulp, all that, gets into an explosion. They think he's dead, and It's just I just love this set piece. I love how they show this whole thing because the other Punisher movies don't really do that. They don't really. I mean, the Netflix show I think shows it, but the one from 2008 doesn't really. We're just right into the Punisher stuff. The Dolph Lundgren one from the 80s kind of shows you a little flashback, but doesn't really show this how long and drawn out it is. And I'm glad they showed us that. Another action set piece I like is when he fights the Russian, where they tear his apartment apart. They're throwing each other through walls. It goes over the top, but this Russian is huge, and there's explosions, and there's some funny dialogue, and it's just great. It's actually it's entertaining. It's what we want to see in an action film like this. You know what I mean? And I love the Punisher costume in this. I love how he's wearing the skull, like this t-shirt kind of. He's got the trench coat. Love the look of the Punisher in this. I think Thomas Jane performance is really good in this as the Punisher, and we're going to get into it in a minute. I want to talk about the way he gets the skull t-shirt, that the reason he has it, I think is a great way to write this into this, where his son gave it to him. His son gives him this skull on a shirt and says it's supposed to warn off evil spirits. So he's wearing this not only as a remembrance of his son, but warning off all the evil people, the evil doers in this world, right? I think that was just a fantastic thing to write in, to give the shirt some meaning, a little bit more meaning. I really dig that. Thomas Jane, man, plays the Punisher really well. For this, all the tone they're going after. He almost has a Charles Bronson quality to him. You know, that stare, that real look to him. You know what I mean? That look that he'll stare you down and he can send the Grim Reaper after you with his eyes. I think he has that. And I love seeing the transformation from Frank Castle to the Punisher. Because for all intents and purposes, Frank's dead. All that's left is the Punisher. Absolutely love the way he plays it. You see him become really cold and dead inside. No emotion. You know, from right when he's interrogating people and everything, you can hear it right in his voice. His voice is monotone, no emotion at all through it, and he stays in that character. He does not break that character. The way Thomas Jane can deliver those lines, too, is very... You got to be careful because you don't want to come off too comedic. You don't want to come off too cheesy. Like when he's interrogating this guy named Mickey, he's got him hung up and everything like that. He's like, let's talk about your friends. There's a point where he's all hung up. He's going to torch him to death and all this kind of stuff. And he's telling him how his skin will melt off. And he says a line like, ain't science fun, Mickey? But the way Thomas Jane's delivery is through this whole movie, it doesn't come off cheesy. Like, that could have been really bad, like, ain't science fun, Mickey? You know, if you had the wrong delivery, but he plays it so calm and cool that it doesn't come off like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's a really good balance.
Isn't science fun, Mickey?
And I love how they write the Punisher here. You know, this is the Punisher, you know what I mean? Not the Executioner, the Punisher. And the way he does in all the bad guys, John Travolta, the way he makes John Travolta, sets him up so he makes him kill his wife, makes him kill his best friend. Right at the end, he's like, I made you kill your wife. I made you kill your best friend. Just imagine knowing that information, that this guy set you up just before you're about to die. That's punishment, man. Emotional punishment. Love the Punisher, man. Great stuff. Great side characters, too. Like, great actors playing these side characters. Like, Will Patton is really good in this. He's like John Travolta's right-hand man, so to speak. And he has this real intimidating quality, which I think he's more intimidating than John Travolta in this, right? I actually think this is a bit of a negative here, maybe more mixed, but I wasn't a huge fan of John Travolta in this film. This is a bad guy that he kind of plays, his stereotypical bad guy that we've seen in a lot of movies. We've seen he does it better in Face Off. He does it better in Broken Arrow. I don't know. It almost felt like just cashing it in, just a serviceable bad guy. Could you imagine someone like Vincent D'Onofrio as this character, or James Gandolfini or something like that at the time, playing this kind of character, giving a bit more of a reality to it? I don't know. I didn't buy John Travolta's performance. I wasn't completely sold on it. You know what I mean? Love seeing Ben Foster in this movie. So when the Punisher stays at this apartment, just a one room where he holds all his guns and just drinks himself to death, essentially. And there's these three characters that he kind of befriends, that all they have is each other. And one of them's Ben Foster, who's just plays video games all day. He's got freaking all these rings on his lips and stuff like that. But the way Ben Foster can just disappear into a character is quite fantastic. He's quite good in this. So I want to mention him. And you even get a little cameo of Roy Scheider in this. So always nice to see Roy Scheider in a movie like this for sure. Now this is Vigilante Justice, man. This is basically a Vigilante Justice movie. I just went through all the Death Wish movies, so it's kind of funny I'm talking about another kind of similar style movie here, but you know, a Marvel character, an anti-hero, you know what I mean? And the Punisher here, you know, he gives this great monologue at the before the third act in this movie when he sets out to take out everybody. He says this great monologue, and I love monologues. Something that he was taught in the army about, you know, if you want peace, then prepare for war. Great monologue. Pretty much stating, you know, this is not revenge. Revenge requires an emotional response. Frank's dead. He died with his family. There's no emotion here. This is punishment. I'm taking out the fucking trash. You know what I mean? And he's the guy is just heartless in this, man. Heartless. There's a great scene where he takes a knife and he puts it right up through the guy's freaking chin. It's excellent. Shows no emotion. Shooting guys while they're dying, putting them out of their misery. Just fantastic stuff. And the last shot of the film on the bridge is absolutely fantastic when they're zooming up on him on the bridge and he's just standing there with sunglasses and he goes, you know, all the muggers, the rapists, the sadists will come to know me well. Call me the Punisher. The music kicks in and it's like, where was our sequel? Where was our freaking sequel, guys? We needed one. This movie holds up extremely well for a Marvel movie. It's one of the I say it's one of the better Marvel movies. I do, but I love the character. I really love the character. I wish we would have got more from this version. I love this movie, guys. I love the Punisher. This is a great action movie, just as an action movie. It's a great Punisher movie, I think. Thomas Jane's excellent in it. I recommend if you haven't seen it, watch it. And if you have, revisit this. Revisit this, because I had a blast revisiting this movie. An absolute blast. I haven't watched it in quite some time. So I'm going to give The Punisher from 2004 a solid B. That's going to do it for me, guys, on this review, this video. Let me know what you think of The Punisher. We'll have great discussion in those comments, and I'll post other related content that always right here that you can watch. Go down the rabbit hole, watch the channel. I'd really enjoy that. Really appreciate all the likes and subscribes, and I will see you on the next video, and I'll see you in the movies, man. Cheers.